Football Tailgate Week 9 recap and reaction show. I'm Dan Watkins, joined as always by John McKechnie. John, here we are sitting on another Monday afternoon, and once again for the third straight week, a major program in college football has fired their head coach. They're paying that buyout money, and now the coaching search just starts as we are headed for what's going to be probably one of the most incredible coaching carousels of all time. Of course, I'm talking about Brian Kelly is no longer the head coach at LSU. What were your thoughts when this news happened last night? We were kind of like talking at the end of the show, of our preview show on Thursday, that like, what if LSU gets blown out here and this happens? Like, does this happen? Does he get fired? Well, the answer is yes. The Louisiana governor gets involved here. They have a meeting at the governor's mansion down there in Louisiana. And just like that, Frank Miller is now the interim head coach of the LSU Tigers.
Boy, yeah. So this weekend went about as sideways as it could for Brian Kelly. I mean, that was your last stand. Like you get a home game against Texas A&M, back against the wall, and you just get smoked. And then, yeah, anytime that there's like the players are gathering at the facility, you know what's coming. The coach isn't walking out of that still employed. And
right.
In true great college football fashion, some added weirdness to this whole story where like there's clips from like reporters that were definitely like hiding in the bushes or whatever to like watch Brian Kelly walk out of the facility with, you know, hat in hand, fired. But yeah, I think that if you're LSU, you're glad this is over, because I think you probably weren't even that happy to begin with that you had to hire Brian Kelly. It always felt like a weird fit, despite his best efforts to be like, you know, my family and all that. It's like it was total BS the whole time. The results were just not good enough. I mean, you had the Heisman Trophy winner, and you didn't even make the college football playoff. You lost 3 games with the Heisman Trophy winner. It's like, dude, you're a fraud. You're a snake oil salesman. You're the monorail salesman. You're all of those things. Goodbye. If I'm an LSU fan, so I know that by one token, you could say that this is a very competitive coaching market. You know, a lot of big programs with deep pockets being able to go for the same guy. But I think if you're LSU, you have a really good sell that you could make in your own right. And I think it was definitely time after Saturday to part ways if you're LSU.
Yeah, from all these reports that have come out, it just sounds like he lost that room. If he ever even really had it this season. Like, there are some reports that like he was basically like, I don't want to say like checked out, but just like kind of like non-existent almost, that he like, got some big time names here in the college football space talking about how like he barely knew guys on his own staff, like when they were hired. Like he wasn't even really a part of the interview process, didn't know some of the players coming in. I know Josh Pate said on his show Sunday night that Brian Kelly was more concerned about being on the beach during recruiting season than he was actually recruiting players and stuff like that. And like, it was just a bad, weird fit from the beginning. Just totally seems like a guy that wanted to grab that big fat check. And he did. I mean, he's got a $54 million buyout now coming towards him, which I think I saw it's like nice $800,000 check a month for the next 9 years or something like that. Not bad.
So he's got plenty of beach time to do that. And I also saw T-Bob, who I know is like plugged in at LSU, saying that, you know, he had heard through the grapevine that Brian Kelly had golfed like 400 rounds during his time at LSU, and what apparently was like shooting in the mid-90s, which like I suck at golf, but like I feel like if you're golfing 400 times in the span of a couple of years, you should probably do better than that. I don't know.
Right. I mean, those definitely weren't all with boosters. I can probably assure you of that. But yeah, LSU, I mean, you got to rip that Band-Aid off. Like that shot Saturday night, John, of just the stadium emptying out and those who stayed just there to rain the booze and scream fire Brian Kelly as that game played out, as LSU was leading that game at halftime, and then they allow a 35-0 run by Texas A&M to start the second half, was just it was insane. I mean, we can quickly talk about some of the potential names. Bruce Feldman has a big list. I think he listed 5 names, but some of them on there were obviously Lane Kiffin, whose name's going to pop up on every single coaching search. Who else we got there? Eli Drinkowitz. That would be interesting if he was to stay in the SEC and move from Mizzou to LSU. John Summerall, who I think is a really interesting name there too, at Tulane right now, staying in state, kind of move over. Kenny Dillingham's name's popped up. That one would kind of shock me if he was to leave ASU with all of his ties there. One name, though, that he did not have, Bruce Feldman, is Marcus Freeman. I'm just going to bring that up there. Now, we talked about, I scratched that itch last week, why does Marcus Freeman's name always pop up? And, of course, instantly, like, set your watch to it. It had to have been within 5 minutes of the firing being official that ESPN has the article up. Headline, who should LSU search for, and whose picture is right there as the cover graphic. It's Marcus Freeman. But Bruce Feldman's reporting today shows that it says right now that Freeman's not a candidate. I would be shocked personally if LSU went back to the Notre Dame well after what just happened. Like, I think they're going to recruit someone with strong Southern ties here.
I think you have to. Not to say that like Freeman wouldn't be a huge upgrade over Kelly, but yeah, Freeman,
we know,
as we established, I think he's plenty comfortable where he is in South Bend, and I think that those names that you rattled off there make plenty of sense. My guess is that if I'm a Florida fan, I am so pissed. I'm so pissed at Brian Kelly because Florida went from having not only like the best job opening, arguably, as we talked about last
1A,
week,
1B, 1A, 1B.
And easily the best one in the AC or in the SEC. Now it's like you're way behind LSU in both facets. Like LSU will be able to come over the top on anyone that they want if there's like a mutual coaching candidate interest. So I think Lane is my bet right now for LSU, but
interesting.
We shall see how it plays out. It would be the most pimp result out of all of this if Lane just stayed at Ole Miss. Like he stays chilling, sees these job openings, like Oxford, baby.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's interesting. Like, is that going to be like what we're just going to do now with Lane, where it's just he becomes like instant name number one on any big job, but then he always ends up staying at Ole Miss? Like, is that how that's going to work?
I think so, but
could.
This year, I mean, that we say that, but LSU opening and Florida opening, it's like, man, we're really putting that to the test right away.
Absolutely. So we have plenty of time the next couple of months to talk about coaching carousel and all that. Let's talk about some of these games that happened in Week 9. Let's start right in Baton Rouge with what happened. Texas A&M 49, LSU 25. As I said before, A&M opens up the second half with that 35-0 run. They empty out Tiger Stadium. They were all up in Garrett Nussmeier's grill all night. They sacked him 5 times, and then they sacked his backup a couple more times too, just to be sure here, as this was just a true belt-to-ass, take them behind the woodshed whooping from Texas A&M Saturday night down there. And I got to say, John, Texas A&M, they're looking like a legit, real national title contender right now.
I think so too. I mean, you just delivered the knockout blow to LSU, which is a program that historically, like that's a tough game. And we talked about going into the weekend how A&M, we have yet to see them like really like take it on the road. They're obviously like killer at Kyle Field, everything like that. But bad numbers against the spread on the road, and maybe not even a great straight up record, even if you shorten the sample to the Elko era. This was like a bit of like a sea change where it's like you really do kind of need to look at the Aggies in a bit of a different light, because it's one thing to beat this LSU team. Of course, they are 5-3 now. One of their big wins being Clemson, which doesn't really mean anything anymore. But you don't just go into Baton Rouge and win 49-25. Like, that is wild. And then you probably get Mizzou without Pribula. That was, something we'll get to. It doesn't sound like he's going to be out for the season, but it looked like a pretty gnarly ankle sprain for sure. Then you get South Carolina and Stanford. So now all of a sudden 12-0 is totally back on the table for this A&M team in a way that I thought when we were sitting here a week ago, they got to slip up at least once, maybe twice. It snowballs if they do slip up once. No, I think that at this point there's better odds of them making it all the way to Atlanta 12-0.
Yeah, they should be in Atlanta at this point. Like, quite frankly, I'm going to be disappointed if we don't get Alabama, Texas A&M on Championship Saturday. As much as I know you won't like to see that, you want one of those teams to fade out, but I think that's what we're heading for. I do have some concerns about the A&M defense, but I just don't know who's going to be able to exploit them right now with the way this schedule is shaped up for the last month of the year. Now, we know November is the month of chaos. We have established that a long time ago. But I just don't see anybody of those remaining teams. Maybe if Texas found something in that second half and Arch against Mississippi State and Arch gets healthy, he's in the concussion protocol right now. I don't know. Like, I keep saying wait and see with Texas, but like clock's ticking on that one. Texas A&M 8-0 for the first time since 1992. Like, what Mike Elko has done is incredible. They are incredible on the lines of scrimmage. Marcel Reed is just awesome. 12 completions. That's all he had on Saturday night. Still had over 200 yards. He was dynamite with his legs too. Like, just awesome stuff from Texas A&M. And I'd be buying up all the stock I can on them right now because, like, the path is there for them to be one of the top seeds in the college football playoff.
Yeah, so for whatever reason, I thought that it was a bigger gauntlet here down the stretch for them. But I think getting this LSU game out of the way and Mizzou catching them in a weakened state, I think really opens up being 11-0 going into Thanksgiving weekend. And I'm sure I'll have some thoughts about that game whenever they face off against Texas. Cause,
in Austin this year, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
okay. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, does Texas have like a crazy? I feel like they're all wine and cheesers. I don't know.
We'll find out.
Yeah,
we will definitely find out what's going on with that program by that point. But on the other side, John, LSU falls to 5-3. Frank Miller is now the interim head coach. He's been the running back coach there. Garrett Nussmeier still does not look right, and obviously he was under fire all night in this one. They still can't run the ball. They were leading at halftime, and then they open up that second half with 4 straight punts and a turnover on downs. This offense, which was probably the biggest reason why Brian Kelly is no longer the head coach there, other than the losses. Number 82 in scoring offense, number 96 in total offense, and number 122 in passing offense. LSU heads into the bye here. Then they got to play Alabama right after that. I'm going to be curious to see what that line's going to be. Do you think we get any sort of like inspired, like, okay, BK's not here anymore. Like, let's go balls to the wall for our interim coach. Do you think we get that dead cat bounce from LSU in a couple of weeks against the Crimson Tide?
I do feel like Brian Kelly was hated by like you've seen some of the posts that not that I like follow all the LSU players on Instagram, but a lot of the LSU writers are reposting them. And there seems to be a collective sigh of relief in that locker room that BK is no longer the guy. So I could see them being a little bit like, playing a little bit faster and looser. Hopefully you get Whit Weeks back. I still imagine that Bama can probably take it to him. But I think, it's something where like I'm looking way into the future here. But maybe a little first half cover for LSU when that game comes up.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious to see what that line's going to be next Sunday morning when it reopens. But anyways, let's stay in the SEC. Let's move on. Ole Miss 34, Oklahoma 26. I thought this was a great bounce back win for Ole Miss after that loss at Georgia with how that fourth quarter went. They had to show resolve on Saturday, and because Oklahoma came storming back in this game and did take the lead at one point, but Trinidad Chambliss, my God. What a day. Like, he was awesome. Like, we talked a lot about this Oklahoma pass rush and how they have made opposing quarterbacks, especially in Norman, have nightmares. Was not the case for Chambliss. He was just dancing around, so smooth and silky, throwing for over 300 yards, added another 50 on the ground. Maybe his Heisman moment, too. I don't think he's going to have enough games, because he didn't start until a couple weeks into the season. Mm-hmm. But, man, what a day for him. He was awesome. And Ole Miss, I wasn't really worried about them, even when Oklahoma took the lead real quick, because they immediately went right back down the field and took that game. So, Ole Miss, this sets up really nicely for them, too, where if, Texas A&M falls or stumbles, or if Alabama was to stumble, Ole Miss could very well be in Atlanta, too. I mean, you look at their remaining schedule, South Carolina at home, Citadel, Florida has to go to Oxford, and then they end with the Egg Bowl on the road.
Yeah, that smells like 11 wins to me.
And one other thing, too, this game Saturday in years past, this is a game that Ole Miss loses.
Oh, yeah.
So that showed me something big time, that Ole Miss is truly legit and going to be a force to be reckoned with just because they can put up points on anybody.
No question. I thought, going into the week, during the preview, we had strength on strength and weakness on weakness. We were both suspect on what it looks like when Oklahoma has the ball versus this Ole Miss defense that is not, particularly stout. So you worry about that, and then, does this Ole Miss offense, have the advantage over this OU defense that is so vaunted? Everyone is just like fawning over themselves with how good they think, how much like respect heaping they can do on the Oklahoma defense. But from what I saw from this Ole Miss offense, I kind of had a feeling that they were going to be able to just be multiple enough, and Lane Kiffin being shrewd enough in his play calling and his sequencing to kind of have this OU defense on its heels. That's exactly, what they did. 10 first quarter points right off the jump, being able to hang in there after OU makes its surge in the third quarter, everything like that. Ole Miss has like this insane cavalcade of receivers where they don't need to rely on any one of these guys. Like Trezon Stribling was like the big play receiver against Georgia. This weekend is Winston Watkins and Trey Wallace, coming out. And Caden Lee, we've seen him do it before. Deuce Alexander has been a big factor. So they just got guys everywhere. Daquan Wright, that tight end, is awesome as well. And Kuon Lacey has been an amazing running back for them too. So that offense is so nasty, and that's not even mentioning how good Chambliss has been. So he's just kind of like the master of this Lane Kiffin offense. Almost extremely scary right now, because like you said, showing a bit of resolve that maybe would have gone by the wayside. Like sort of like the Kentucky game last year, the Florida game last year in particular, where they came up on the wrong side of those close games. This time, found some grit, got it done in Norman. Really impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, don't forget, too, you had all those rumors about Lane in Florida, and then there was the report that Lane talked to the players about the Florida rumors. So some of that external stuff going around as well. Now you're going to probably crank that right back up again this week with the LSU stuff as they head back home to take on South Carolina. That's going to be an interesting game because South Carolina had a really, really impressive showing. They did lose against Alabama. We'll get to that game in a few minutes. But that's going to be an interesting one this weekend. On the other side, though, Oklahoma drops to 6-2. You got two games coming up at Tennessee, at Alabama, back-to-back. Your quarterback is clearly not right. His hand, like he had that surgery on his hand a month ago at this point. Like, I feel bad for John Mateer. Like, I don't know if he was rushed back or not, but like clearly just not the same guy he was before that injury. And how could you be when you have to have your throwing hand operated on mid-season? But Oklahoma, 6-2. Schedule's going to get tougher. I mean, I think if they can finish with 8 wins, that would be a very successful season for Oklahoma at this point with how things have gone, especially for this offense.
Do you remember what their win total was coming into the season? Was it like 7.5? With
I want to say it was 7. I want to say it was 7.5.
Yeah. So it's gonna land right there, I think,
right.
Because we talked about it shortly after they lost to Texas. It's just like this team is fun. It's good. It's got a great defense. Mateer's awesome, but at the end of the day, like there's some things lacking in this OU team. Plus the difficulty of that schedule that it makes it hard to believe in them, making a playoff push or let alone even pushing for double digit wins. So I think that this is the second of probably 4 losses for them too. I agree.
Yeah, I mean just those offenses that they got coming up here between Tennessee and Alabama. I don't think Oklahoma's going to be able to keep up. That's just, especially on the road. All right, so thank you very much for watching, guys. If you do us a favor, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. We're on all 3 at College Football Tailgate. You can follow us on Twitter at CFB Tailgate 25. We are on TikTok at CFB Tailgate. Doesn't cost you anything, totally free. It just helps John and I as we try to build this show and keep building this thing here. As we go throughout the season, we've seen some really nice growth, and hopefully we continue to do so as we get closer and closer to the end of this regular season and championship Saturday and the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. But we will be here with you guys twice a week. We do a preview show. We do a recap show. Pretty straightforward stuff. All right, I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to take a sip of water. I'm going to let you collect your thoughts, and then I guess we got to be ready to do this, what we're going to do next. So,
oh boy, folks,
All right.
We opened a certain can of worms. Yeah, fire away, man.
All right. BYU 41, Iowa State 27. John and I both picked Iowa State to win this game. We were both very adamant about the Cyclones winning this game. We were both proven wrong. I will say this, BYU, as they improved to 8-0, they're a very good football team. They are a very fundamentally sound football team. They do not beat themselves, and if you do not put them away, they will come back and beat you, as multiple teams have seen so far this season, Iowa State being the latest. They don't turn the ball over. They're +6 in the turnover margin, which I believe is tied for 14th in the country right now. John Bear Bachmeier, the freshman quarterback, had a really nice day on Saturday. 307 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, added 60 rushing yards, and a touchdown there as well. He was awesome in the second half. But I will say this. Iowa State peed down their leg in this game. They were up 14 points in the second quarter. And yes, commenters, I understand the game is 4 quarters, not 2. Totally get that. But Iowa State played a massive role in this win for BYU and how BYU was able to take control of this game. So the game is tied 27-27 here as we're getting to the end of the third quarter. After forcing a 3-and-out, Iowa State then botches a punt return because this guy just decides to keep on blocking, which, hey, good on him for continuing to block to the whistle. But he ends up backing up right into the football, touches the ball. BYU gets it on the Iowa State 33. 3 plays, touchdown. BYU takes the lead. Iowa State gets the next kickoff. The ensuing drive, Rocco Beck throws a pick 6, 41-27. Iowa State then drives down the field again. Running back drops a wide open touchdown. Nobody near him, like in the same zip code, and they end up turning the ball over on downs, and BYU ends up winning this game 41-27. John, Iowa State outgained, outpossessed, and they jumped out to a 2-touchdown lead in this game. So I do not regret picking Iowa State for one bit. If these two teams were to play again this week in Ames, Iowa, I'd take Iowa State again. But BYU did what they had to do, survive and advance. They are undefeated. They are 8-0. They won Saturday. Bill Connolly, I believe, had them with a, what was it, like mid-30s win
Yep, 37.
expectancy? 37?
37, and Parker Fleming, the Stats of War guy, who puts out the how badly did we get beat chart every week. Like, so if you're on the far right, it's like that was absolutely a blowout. And if you're on the far left, it's like, wow, like the better team did not win according to net success rate. So this is just net success rate. BYU, we understand that you have the net W.
You won. 8-0.
Got it.
8-0.
But on like a per play basis, Iowa State was like 0.1 points better on a per play basis than BYU was. But when you turn the ball over a zillion times like that, and you know a pick 6 is involved, special teams blunders, things of that nature, it's hard to win that way. So I kind of felt like, you know, there's so many great games going on in that window, and Iowa State was taking it to them early on. And I'm like, I'm not even going to have to pay attention to this. Like, I'm going to see if Texas can screw around and lose this game or you know, watch this Vanderbilt game. And then I see that it's 24-17 going into half, and I'm like, uh-oh, that's a lot of momentum, it feels like, for this BYU team. So, and I will also add that, like, this does feel like a calling card of BYU teams. Like, they're just able to capitalize on other teams' mistakes and maybe not even play their best game, but still find a way to win. So I think that is a testament to their coaching staff and Satake, all that stuff. So, you know, we had similar setup to that last year. Commenter noted when I said that I would bet against them this coming week, I had to take the L because they're on a bye. So BYU will not lose this week.
Got to look at that schedule before clapping back.
Yeah, I was not thinking. That's usually like my golden rule, but I just didn't think it through. But Texas Tech in a couple weeks. I think you guys might guess which way we're leaning.
Yeah, that game will be in Lubbock. Going to be very interesting. Hammond is done for the year. Is Morton back? Morton should be back though, right?
I believe so. So it's a couple weeks from now, obviously. So I think Morton should be back from that concussion, but we shall see.
So, like, the difference here with this one, like, in BYU, like, a couple weeks ago when we talked about Indiana coming out of that Oregon game, Like I like completely changed my tune on Indiana. Like I think that they can actually like win the national championship.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way about BYU. I'm not even sure they're going to win the Big 12. We will see. They could very well prove me wrong and be there in Dallas and win the Big 12 and be in the playoff. But even the odds makers are still very much against you. I just looked at DraftKings quickly here. Texas A&M or Texas Tech, excuse me, is the heavy favorite still to win this conference. BYU plus 425 still to win the Big 12. So you could scoop that up and have a very nice payout if you do think that this magical season is going to continue. I think that they're a year or two away with their true freshman quarterback from legit contending in the Big 12. But once again, BYU, you are undefeated. So call us clowns if you want to.
But sorry, folks, they're not making podcast equipment more expensive. We have nice stuff as it is, so we're going to keep doing this. Sorry.
Yeah, but do know we do actually both have day jobs other than this. We do this out of the goodness.
Truly love the game stuff, yeah.
It really is. All right, very good. So we will put a pin in that BYU discussion for a few weeks. Let's kind of quick hit some of the other games that went on here. Vandy 17, Mizzou 10. John, Diego Pavia just finds a way. Vandy was held to their season low in offensive output with just 265 yards. Clark Lee, after the game, saying, quote, championship teams go through this. They have to find a way to win. I mean, Vandy, like, they just keep on winning too. Like, I don't want to, like, sing the praises of Vanderbilt after I just kind of, like, ragged on BYU a little bit. But, like, what Vandy's doing, like, this, like, it's gutsy. Like, it is gutsy what they are doing, how they keep finding ways to win here.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it was a close game. There was not quite like the same as like the Jackson Arnold play, but there was like a wild, long review of a red zone touchdown, I think, in this one that kind of like swung things. But Vanderbilt got it done when they needed to. Unfortunately, Bo Pribula hurt that leg, so that kind of sapped that Missouri passing game and run game threat from the quarterback, because I guess Sam Horn he's not playing this year or whatever, so they had to turn to some other fella who I'd never heard of before. My buddy that went to Mizzou was watching that one with me. He was disappointed. Also, never seen so many Vandy fans in person. Even like
really?
at an actual like Georgia Vanderbilt game, I never saw that many Vanderbilt fans. But at Franklin Hall in D.C., it's an educated bar that I was at, and that was pretty crazy. But yeah, Vandy, they've just got the alligator blood. Diego Pavia is just an absolute dog. So, I think that game against Tennessee at the end of the season could set up as like a de facto, playoff elimination type of game. We shall see. But crazy game, lived up to the hype. I think game day was deserving of being there. Was a little bit weird that they're hyping the propaganda of like, hey, 5-star recruit, you need to flip to Jared Curtis. You need to flip to Vanderbilt. Are we recruiting for Vanderbilt on national TV right now? Like, what's happening? Like, Herb Street was doing the same thing with Dylan Raiola a couple of years ago. So Georgia fans have taken note of that, and we don't care for it.
Very good. So big one coming up, though. They have to go to Texas. Coming up, the next one for Vanderbilt, Arch Manning, his status still kind of up in the air as he's in the concussion protocol right now. But, like, Missouri, that Bo Pribula injury, dislocating his ankle, had to get it popped back in during that one. Sounds like he's probably done for the regular season. Drinkowitz kind of hinted that, like, maybe we could get him back by the very end of the year. But, like, that to me just kind of feels like that just took all the wind out of Mizzou's sails here for the remainder of this season.
It's very unfortunate that I really like with this. I'd hope that Drink stays there. I think that there is something kind of interesting cooking at Missouri. I think the way that the NIL stuff works, and especially in the state of Missouri, like where I think the big signal was when they got Luther Burden to go there instead of Alabama or Georgia. Like those hats were on the table. He picks Mizzou. It's like that's different. And they've had some really great seasons under Drink in the NIL era. I would like to see it continue, but I definitely understand if you're a job opening that you're going to try to get that guy, because he's pretty much got it going on there.
Yeah, he does. I'm not going to be surprised to see his name pop up in like every single rumor opening all that because he's that good and he's built a great program at Mizzou, which is not an easy thing to do whatsoever. So shout out to Coach Drink, but yeah, it just kind of feels like the wind was taken out of their sails here with that injury at the quarterback position. Alabama survives 29-22, the final. They escape the clutches and the grasp of Cocktober. They emerge victorious, down 22-14 in the fourth quarter. Late in the fourth quarter, Ty Simpson, Jeremy Bernard just lead them back as they escape South Carolina with a win. Alabama's been saying that their motto this season is unbreakable, outside of Tallahassee, Florida, I guess. Yeah. But talk about a Heisman moment, John. Ty Simpson, it feels like he's locked this thing up if Alabama is 11-1 at the end of the year. Like, he is just, every single week, he's awesome. Leads them back here this one. And, kind of starting to feel like they have that team of destiny kind of feel to them. That's kind of how I'm starting to feel about Alabama, that Kalen DeBoer is pushing all the right buttons. They get the timely turnovers on defense when they need to. Can't always rely on that every week, but it just seems like all the pieces are there for Alabama to make a very deep run into the college football playoff.
You know who's the leading receiver for them on Saturday?
No, I don't.
The big fella. Daniel Hill was their leading receiver. Really? He had 4 for 76. I think a lot of that had to do with a 40-yard catch in there, but that's crazy. That their short yardage back can do that. That just shows they have so many different ways that they can beat you. It's absolutely unbelievable. And Simpson, not a particularly sharp day from him. Under 6 yards per pass attempt, but guess what? When the Tide needed to play, who was making the play? Simpson was. I mean, it's just. He's as cool as a cucumber. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he's this poised as a first year starter. I mentioned last week that I think South Carolina is sneakily when it's rocking one of the trickiest places to play, and especially if you give them a pulse, if you give them a breath of life there, it becomes a really intense environment. And Alabama certainly gave South Carolina that. I think South Carolina really felt like they were going to win that game at one point, but Alabama seems like they cannot be broken, at least certainly not by this Gamecocks team. So, the Tide roll on.
Yeah, they do. So they roll into a bye, and then they got that LSU game at home that we were talking about earlier. It's going to be that kind of bounce-back, dead cat bounce spot for LSU. First game with their interim head coach after Brian Kelly has been fired. Then they have Oklahoma at home, I believe. Then they have Eastern Illinois. And then they end things with the Iron Bowl at Jordan-Hare this season, which we know always gets a little wonky when the game is played at Auburn. But if Alabama is not in Atlanta, I think something went horribly wrong in the month of November.
Oh, I would just hate to see that.
Very good. Very good. I'm not shocked by that response one bit. Something I was a little shocked, though, by this past weekend was the final score in the Oregon-Wisconsin game. 21-7. Was our final in that one. Oregon wins. I mean, this was just a gross game from every standpoint, from the weather and the downpours to the two offenses in this one. Dante Moore leaves the game with a face injury. Dan Lanning says he is okay going forward. Are you feeling any different about Oregon after this against Wisco this weekend? So Oregon heads into a bye, and then they have to go to Iowa. A trip to Kinnick. I'm wondering, did Dan Lanning and this offensive coaching staff, did they just dial everything in? Because, maybe they're a little scared of Iowa's defense, having, in this weird world we're living in 2025, were they trying to dial things back so there's not as much on tape at this point for Iowa in a couple of weeks here? That's what I'm trying to talk myself into, how Oregon only scored 21 points against Wisconsin.
Yeah, I don't know if that would even be a full-on excuse, because Wisconsin's just been bad, and Wisconsin's offense, I feel can spot you 14 points by itself just with turnovers every single week. So I hope Oregon isn't being that cocky and that crazy about things. Iowa, by the way, 41-3 in the Floyd of Rosedale game. Let's go. And they hung almost 40 points on Wisconsin. That could be tricky for Oregon. I do still have a lot of confidence in this Oregon team, and I don't put too much stock in them kind of playing with their food on Saturday against Wisconsin. You would have liked to see a more convincing score, considering that weren't they 33-point favorites in that one? Weather's is gonna play a bit of a role there, of course, but at the same time, you want to see a better, sharper performance. You don't want to see kind of taking a game for granted. Like Indiana, by extension, like they just pasted UCLA.
Oh my goodness.
Like I kept like checking my phone occasionally and I'd be like scared to see like how much worse that margin was getting for me as someone who kind of believed in UCLA in that one.
That line was 25.5. I think they covered that like midway through the second quarter.
Yeah, brother, like that was nuts. So you would have rather see Oregon do something like that to Wisconsin, but I think also like Wisconsin, the way that the last two games have gone, like maybe if they had like a shred of pride left, it was going to be being able to keep that game respectable out in Eugene, and they were able to do that, at least according to the Vegas number.
Yeah, I don't know. Something's up. Something feels a little off with Oregon, but I guess we'll see in a couple of weeks. That's going to be an interesting trip for them to Iowa. Like that, we'll see. I fully expect them to win that game, but I think that game could be very uncomfortable for them as well.
Iowa can be like the Auburn of the Big Ten, kind of,
It's
like
they're
never going to win it, but they'll get you at home.
They will. Yeah, absolutely. Another one here, Texas overcomes a 17-point fourth quarter deficit to just absolutely rip the heart out of Mississippi State fans. Huge rally for the Longhorns. They come back. They win this one 45-38. A little bit of concern here with Arch Manning. He's in the concussion protocol. Did not practice on Monday this week as they get ready for Vanderbilt here in Austin coming up this weekend. I don't know. Like at this point, it's just like this is like kind of what I expect from Texas, to just play these very excruciating, painful games, and somehow, and more often than not, they're going to emerge victorious. But sometimes they will slip up to the Ohio States and the Floridas and that kind of thing. But like, I can't say I'm terribly shocked that like Texas really needed to throw the kitchen sink in the second half to beat Mississippi State.
No, I wasn't either. I went into that game being on Miss State. I think that they were plus like 8.5, plus 9.5, something like that. So I was feeling great about it. I was hoping to see the money line come in too, but Texas. I mean, credit to Texas for getting off the mat in Starkville the way that they did, because it was looking really bleak, and like you're starting to see like these Sarkisian rumors, like is he thinking about the NFL? And obviously with the way that things have gone with Arch this year and Texas overall, I mean this is the most like poorly looked upon 6-2 team ever. I feel like relative to the expectations coming into the year, everyone just kind of thinks they're spoiled brats who were so entitled and everything like that, and they had to slug out a dogfight against Miss State. So it's still not overly convincing. You for another week you avoid disaster if you're Texas, but I still don't like believe them in any way, shape, or form. Like against a ranked team, like against Vanderbilt, I don't know if they're going to be able to win that game. I think I like the Doors even in Austin. I mean, we'll unpack that further as the week goes on, but you beat a Miss State team that is 4-4 and winless in the SEC. You should be doing that if you're Texas.
Have you looked ahead to the line for Texas and Vandy? Do you know what it is?
No, I haven't actually.
Okay, so I'm looking at it right now. Why don't you try to guess the line for Texas and Vanderbilt on Saturday?
Is it Vandy minus 2.5?
No, Texas is favored.
Okay.
1.5.
Okay. All right. So I was off, but not like embarrassingly.
And it opened Sunday morning at Texas minus 2.5. Now you've had that Arch Manning news, but Matthew Caldwell did come in and throw the game-winning touchdown, by the way. So good for him.
He's good.
Shout out to him anyway, but that's going to be an interesting one. So Texas is going to be a 1.5-point favorite against Vanderbilt. We will break that game down in full on Thursday when we do our Week 10. I can't believe it's Week 10 already. Preview show as we got a few stragglers left, a couple games left in the month of October, some Conference USA. I think we got a Friday night ACC game. But then, John, as we get to Saturday, we are in the month of chaos, and things are just going to get even more bonkers, if they can even get even more bonkers here in the year of 2025 of this college football season, which has just been absolutely incredible. Something that has not been incredible is, well, for the most part, our betting picks. I mean, we had that great Week 8. We came right back down to earth in Week 9. I believe we went 6-9, nice combined. But unfortunately, just not great. Nebraska we got hooked there after they were winning that game by 10 for most of the day. A couple big-time money lines, Iowa State. Arkansas, don't come in for us. The no scoring at all in the Oregon game. So it was a rough week. Going to look to bounce back. I do have one spot that I'm already circling for Week 10. I'm going to give us New Mexico -5. Or excuse me. I have one spot for Week 10. UNLV -5. They are taking on New Mexico. Dan Mullen's squad, off a bye here, at home. They've been great at home. New Mexico has not been good on the road whatsoever here. A little Mountain West action for us. That's Saturday afternoon. Give me UNLV -5 there against New Mexico on Saturday.
I do love that. I will say, just poking around, I think Miss State and Arkansas is a very, very fun game. 67.5 is your total there. I could see that one going over. Like that game should be totally defense optional. Offenses are rolling on both sides. So for a 2-6 versus 4-4 matchup, definitely gonna have that on the old second screen.
Very good. Actually, one other game we didn't touch on: Cincinnati and Baylor. Anything on your Bearcats?
Cincinnati, how good are
impressive.
they?
Impressive.
I mean, Sorsby more like Scoresby. Like he's just rocking and rolling. And I think the rest of the team. I think Joe Royer is really good. A handful of these receivers, Cyrus Allen, so on. Tyree Walker, the running back. Like they got some guys. They're feeling really confident. It was a really bad spot for Baylor. So I do think that is like a bit of a factor to bake into your analysis from that game. But Cincinnati, I think against Utah this week, this is when we'll really know if the Cats really got some claws here.
Yeah, game day, I believe, going out to Salt Lake for that one. That's going to be interesting. Utah favored by 7.5, I think, at home there. That feels like,
Rare.
Little rar.
Mm-hmm.
All right, very good. Anything else from Week 9 that you want to put a little button on, tie a little bow on before we sign off here?
Let's see. Virginia, what the heck? Just barely escaping UNC. I'm glad we mentioned Iowa. They definitely caught my eye with how that all went. Too bad about UCLA. Not that I was rooting against Indiana or anything, but I did kind of wanted to see them get scared, at least a little bit. And then someone brought up a really kind of interesting point, and I don't like how it kind of pushes down Diego Pavia, but at the same time, someone said Haynes King is having the season that people think Diego Pavia is having. Not a bad take. Not a bad take whatsoever. Haynes King is rocking out. Georgia Tech wins their game, of course, against Syracuse, 41-16. So he's got it rolling. Three touchdowns through the air, 2 on the ground. The guy's just printing points.
All right, and a little injury news here as I'm just kind of scrounging my feed. Baron Morton, Texas Tech's quarterback, is going to start against Kansas State this weekend, so he is back. Will Hammond, his backup, I believe, is done for the year, though. So
that could be tricky for them. K-State just destroyed Kansas, so
I think Kansas State is off the ban list.
Yeah.
I think they've moved to probation, so we might give them another shot here. We'll see coming up in the next couple of weeks, depending on what some lines are. But I think that'll do it for us here on this Week 9 recap and reaction show. We will be back later this week with a full Week 10 preview. Really interesting card and slate around on Week 10 here. Like, this is a multi-TV day, and the fact that there isn't your typical marquee matchup that you need to center your day around. There's just some great games sprinkled all throughout the day, as there typically is, but this one more so, I feel like, starting with that Texas and Vanderbilt game.
Just as long as we're not stuck with Utah, Colorado as the only game on, I'm good.
Late at night.
Oh my God, I was so mad.
Oh, and I should probably mention Arizona State. They're done. I mean, Sam Levitt gets hurt. Jeff Sims is in for a majority of that game. Jordan Tyson was already out. Asking for a lot. Houston, 7-1. Big 12.
We hit the over already.
Big 12 is just absolutely wild this year. And I think I hit Georgia Tech's over as well. They were 7.5. I think they're 8.
That was
right?
easy money. Hell yeah,
Yep.
dude.
So, all right, that's going to do it for us. For John, I'm Dan. We'll talk to you guys later this week.